Hey everybody, I'm Adam Biggers. Welcome to Great Lakes Divide. This is the first solo stream, and want to welcome back everybody who used to watch the Sports in the Mitten podcast. It's going to be the same type of thing, but more just a well, actually, pretty much the same. I always focused on Michigan and Michigan State. That's what I covered. So I hope everybody looks forward to the upcoming season for Michigan and Michigan State. Ryan Schuling and I are splitting coverage. I'll be covering Michigan. I'm familiar with the Wolverines, obviously, and Ryan will be covering the Spartans. He's done a great job doing that over the years. So, really appreciate the support. We had a great time at Big Ten Media Days in Chicago. Did a lot of work, talked to a lot of people, and I'm genuinely excited for what's around the corner. I think that we're going to provide you guys great video, audio, podcasts, and everything that I would think. Uh, Basically, I'm basing it on what would I want to read? What do I think people want to read? What does Ryan want to read? What kind of content do we want to produce? So we're looking forward to that. Shane Majewski says, "Here we go. Good luck to or good to be back, Biggs." Thanks, Shane. And I'm gonna get into the live chat real quick. I'm gonna tweet out the link. You guys know the drill. If you guys have any questions, if you have any Michigan State questions, that's fine. But I think most of you guys are going to be here for Michigan, and that's what we typically do. So if you have any Michigan questions, I have a lot to talk about when it comes to the Wolverines. Harbaugh, Chase Winovich, especially, and it was just I don't know where to start. I mean, I think if you're a Wolverines fan, of course you have to be optimistic. This is year four of Harbaugh. I believe that this is going to be a major year. It has to be, and I'll outline why. I plan on writing a column which should be up either later today or early tomorrow on greatlakesdivide.squarespace.com, and we're actually working today to get that URL shortened to just greatlakesdivide.com, so it'll be easier without the Squarespace. So. Give me one moment here. I'm going to tweet out the live link. And as always, if you guys have any questions, feel free to get in there in the chat, and I'll read them as soon as I open up the queue. All right, we got that taken care of here. I think, like I mentioned during the last solo, I'm getting back into the swing of things. And, okay. Looks like we're all taken care of. So, Shane, if you want to open up the line of questioning, anybody feel free. Whatever you want to talk about. Quarterback, I want to talk about defense, and I do want to talk about the offensive coaching continuity. That's a question that I asked Jim Harbaugh, and yes, it was pointed out. I did say tight ends coordinators. I was thinking a mile a minute. I meant tight ends coaches, comma coordinators. Someone did point that out to me on Twitter. I appreciate it, but I do know the difference. It was a minor slip of the tongue. Wait for a couple more people to get in here, and we'll dive in. Well, actually, I think right now I'll just get started. If nobody has a question, I think everybody's getting back used to. It was a well end of October when my job ended at FanRag. I kind of stuck around a little bit, waiting for something to happen. It didn't, unfortunately. I mean, I figured it would at some point, but sometimes you got to just make it happen yourself. So that's what Ryan and I did. So uh, Shane Majewski said, "Who's your tight end coordinator?" LOL. Who's your breakout? Yeah, Shane. I don't know if you saw that, Shane, but yeah, I did say tight end coordinator. I meant tight ends coaches, coordinators, and going along, in the vein of all the analysts and everything. Basically, everybody that Harbaugh has gotten on board, uh, during his previous 3 years as far as offensive coaches. Because I mean, we've seen a lot of guys. We've seen Greg Fry working the tight ends being the tight ends coach, and that's where I was going. I was thinking of Greg Fry because he was tight ends coach, and then he was run game coordinator. We've seen Pop Hamilton's in the mix. Sharon Moore now the tight ends coach. I mean, Tyrone Wheatley was the tight ends coach. So Shane wants to know who's your tight end coordinator. LOL. who's your breakout defensive player for underclassmen? And Shane says the guy was just being a bit too critical. Coaches know what you meant. And yeah, Shane, and I mean it's sometimes I'll slip. I talk really fast. I think really fast. I think you guys have figured that out by now. As far as my breakout defensive player for the underclassmen, that's a good question. I mean, I still I have to believe it's going to be Michael Dwumfor, guy like Kwity Paye, Luigi Villan. I mean, there are so many to choose from because, I mean, let's face it, this defense is loaded. The coaching on the defensive side is excellent. But if you could grade higher than excellent, give it the highest grade. I mean, Don Brown's the defensive coordinator. You have Greg Madison as the defensive line coach. I mean, you can move other pieces. In my mind, if you have Greg Madison and Don Brown, you're golden. So as far as a breakout player for underclassmen, defensively, I mean, I think Quity's shown something that that we know that he's going to be pretty good. Michael Dwumfor as well, and Jim Harbaugh actually mentioned he said Michael Dwumfor was one of the most improved guys during camp. He may have said the most improved, and we'll have the full hour interview with Jim Harbaugh, audio only. Ryan Schuling recorded that. I was bouncing around talking to some other guys and getting some video, but that I believe that Harbaugh, because I was there for that part, Harbaugh did mention that. And there's some videos on my YouTube channel, so check that out. But the full audio, I'll have that up later. And again, that's at greatlakesdivide.squarespace.com. We're working to get it shortened to just greatlakesdivide.com, make it easier to find, make it easier to say. And of course, you'll be able to find it on Facebook and Twitter at GLDivide. And follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. So if you're following all those, if you like the page, the Great Lakes Divide Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, follow myself on Twitter, and follow Ryan Schuling on Twitter at Ryan Schuling. You won't miss a beat with anything that we're doing. So, anybody else, any questions? Shane, it looks like you're the only one in here. I think it'll take a little while before people, realize like, oh, okay, I'm back doing them on a regular basis again because during football season last year when it really picked up, we were doing 3, 4 per week. Sometimes immediate reactions after a game on Saturday, followed up with another reaction on Sunday, and then something late Monday night from press availability. We'll be finding out whether or not Michigan has a media day this season. I asked around right now. I mean, there's no definitive plan, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. But last season it did not happen. So Shane says so many were either hurt or were redshirted. Would it be fair to say that one position we never? Would it be fair to say the one position we should never worry about players developing would be the D line? Seems like Madison has a hell of a reputation. Shane, you're absolutely correct. The past 5 years, 6 years. What has been a constant, of course the defense, but what has been a constant of the defensive line, just churn out, boom, 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 boom. I mean, Willie Henry, comes to mind. Guys like Willie Henry, Matt Godin, in his fifth year had a big year. Chris Wormley, I mean, we could just rattle off names. Chase Winovich, of course, he's still there. I mean, Rashawn Gary, we're going to see a lot of Rashawn this year. We're going to see a lot of Chase. I imagine we'll see a lot of Kwity, a lot of Michael Dwumfor, a lot of Luigi Villan. Yeah, so Shane, absolutely the one position to not worry about if you're a Michigan fan on the defensive side of the ball or position group rather would be defensive line, bar none, no question in my mind. We'll gotta get on a regular schedule here. Shane, it looks like you have a solo episode. There's a few people watching. If you're in here, join the chat, ask a question, anything about Michigan, anything about Michigan State. But like I said, you guys, the majority of you, I would say about 98% of you are Michigan fans who want to know about Michigan. So if you want to focus on the Wolverines, I'm all for that. I'm going to put the link on our Facebook page in the meantime. I will say this, I'm happy to be back. I think that short break, if anything, sometimes it's good to take a break from things, even if you didn't want to take a break. But I feel re-energized. I'm really excited about this season. And again, I'm really excited about the project that Ryan Schuling and I are doing together, and I couldn't ask for a better person to do that with. I think Ryan and I really think the same way. We both kind of hold the same values a little bit um, when it comes to style of reporting, style of coverage, being fair, being accurate. Those are all things that we value. So I'm going to post this. And again, if you don't already like the Great Lakes Divide Facebook page, please go ahead and do so. We're at almost 200 likes, and we just posted the page and, just getting started. So looks like a couple other people are in here. I'll get to you guys 1 second. Just 1 minute here. I got a new computer too, so the keyboard's a little narrower, a little more narrow. And just like last year when I got back from Chicago, I was all stuffed up, and I was talking to a friend local, and she said that it's always allergy season in Chicago. So if you can't tell right now, I'm kind of stuffy. Didn't sleep much the past 2 days, and then last night when I got back into town at 1:30 local time, my car was in Lansing, so I came back up to Flint. Got home, like I said, around 1:30, 2 o'clock, and I was up until like 6 o'clock posting videos. And that was after waking up around it was 7 o'clock in the morning. So it was almost a 24-hour day for me, but I feel like that little power nap, I got about 4.5, 5 hours of sleep in a day. That power nap really helped out. So, and that's going on the Facebook page right there. All right, hop it back in. Shane says, which coach do you trust the most when it comes to how a player is progressing? There seems to be a lot of coaches talking up their players. Don Brown, Greg Madison. No questions asked. Don Brown, Greg Madison. And again, Shane, that goes back to the point of, position group, strength of position group. What's the, one position or position group on a yearly basis the Michigan fans don't have to worry about defensive lines. So, yeah, when you look at, and I mean, and this goes, and DJ Durkin was a pretty good defensive coordinator as well before he took the head coaching job at Maryland. And then Don Brown comes in, and I mean, you already went from a really good defensive coordinator, a couple notches up, in in that regard with Don Brown, and Don Brown regarded if he's not the best defensive coordinator in the country, he's certainly one of the best. And I mean, and you could argue as far as defensive line coaches. I mean, Greg Madison, if he's not the best, I mean he's top three easily. Same goes for Brown with his position. Cameron Clark says. Are you in media again, Adam? Yes, I am, Cameron. Thanks for asking. Again, it's Great Lakes Divide. That's a new site, and it's Ryan Schuling is my partner, and it's going to be focusing on Michigan and Michigan State, kind of like how I did with Sports in the Mitten, but just cranked up about 20 times more. So, yes, we were at Big Ten Media Days. You can follow on Twitter. We have Twitter at GL Divide, Facebook, same thing at GL Divide, and yeah, back in the swing of things. The desk job was let me think of the right word to say. It was a decent job, and I'm sure for other people it would have been a great job. They would have really enjoyed it. Um, I did well at it. My heart wasn't in it. I just could not sit at a desk for 8 hours a day, and it took me a little bit to get in the groove of it. It was an accounts manager position, and I feel like once I did get a group, get a good handle on it, I was getting pretty good at it. But again, it was a job, and I wasn't passionate about it. So I'm glad to be back doing this. You guys know this is what I love. This is what I want to do. So, any more questions, guys? We can't go short. I feel like I've done more talking and promoting than actually analysis and again, with that, I think a lot of you guys will enjoy the hour-long audio of Jim Harbaugh. As far as I know, I mean, we're Ryan Schuling did a great job. We have the full breakaway session, and when I say breakaway session, Cameron Clark wants to know starting O line for Michigan. That's I think Bredesen's going to be in there. Cesar Ruiz, John Runyon Jr., Juwan Bushell Beatty. I want to wait till camp starts a little bit before I start really giving a forecast, but I think I don't think we're going to see a lot of changes other than, obviously Mason Cole not being around any longer, but I think that'll be the usual guys. usual suspects that we've seen rotate in and out since last season. So, I mean, Steven Spinellis is another guy that comes to mind. But yeah, Juwan Bushell-Beatty, John Runyon Jr., Cesar Ruiz, in no particular order. Cameron, and camp will start up next week, so availability, I'll start kind of piecing together. I think what I want to do this year is get a whiteboard, kind of like they do in their rooms, and just kind of write down. I'll probably put it up somewhere back here and just break it down, and we'll just stand in front of the whiteboard and fill it in. Shane Majewski says, if you had to guess who leaves for the draft early this year, their big 2019 recruiting class hints at quite a few departures. Rashawn Gary. I mean, if I have to give Rashawn, and I'm not putting words in his mouth, I haven't heard anything, but logic would suggest that this is probably Rashawn Gary's final year. I would think Devin Bush is probably gone as well if he has the type of season. But again, I mean, we've seen guys come back uh, for lots of reasons. Guys who could have gone early. We've seen guys come back for a lot of reasons, and I think obviously Mo Hurst coming back last year was pretty big for the Wolverines. He could have gone, in the 2017 draft. Cameron Clark says Gary and Bush would be stupid to come back. Both are first rounders. And Cameron, I agree with you on that. But again, sometimes these guys, I mean, they really believe in the idea of winning a national championship. A lot of these guys hold college football in high regard, not just as a step to the NFL, but they really want. And I mean, I'll use a basketball example. Like Miles Bridges coming back at Michigan State. We've seen other players, basketball, football. They return because they really believe in the cohesiveness of the team, and they really believe that during their time there, that they have a chance to make a playoff run. They have a chance to win a national championship. And Chase Winovich actually mentioned it because I was asking him about the offensive turnover coaching wise, and asking him if that bothered or does it rattle the defense? Are they concerned about it? And he pointed back to just the offensive when he was a true freshman. They had negative rushing yards, but he pointed back to the fact that if a team cannot score against you, they can't beat you. And I think if Michigan can get its offense going, and again, this is kind of early. Camp hasn't even started. But I think if Michigan can get its offense going, this is a pretty good team. Right now, I think 8-9 wins, but that's largely that's because of the schedule, but it largely hinges on who's going to be quarterback and how quickly is this offense going to come together on the field. Cameron Clark says we all know the starting QB, but who you think will be the second string? Well, Cameron, I'm not completely sold that it's going to be Shea Patterson as a lock. I mean, yeah, Shea, is he the favorite? Probably. I don't, can't deny that. Is he capable? Well, of course. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of people, the same group of people who were chanting Brandon, 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 are now so ready to move on from the Brandon Peters era and go, oh, well, he's, Brandon Peters is old news. Now it's Shea Patterson, and people are talking about Joe Milton. Dylan McCaffrey made, huge leaps and bounds. But I think, I mean, it's going to be Shea. It's going to be Shea or Brandon. And, one of those guys, if it's Shea starting, Brandon will be the backup. If it's Brandon starting, it'll be Shea backup. And if we want to go down to third string, I think it'll be Dylan McCaffrey. Shane Majewski says Hudson, Long, and Hill seem toss-ups on if they leave early. Kalik Hudson, yeah, definitely. Kalik. And last year, Shane, if you guys remember, we talked about this a lot. I wrote a column about it. Kalik has really defined the Viper position. I thought Jabril Peppers was a really good Viper, did a lot of great things for the Wolverines, but I think that Kalik Hudson took that position, what Jabril Peppers did with it, and elevated it several levels. I really like watching Kalik Hudson play. I think he's a fantastic athlete. He's a good guy. We've interviewed him. The media's been able to interview him several times. And, obviously just one hell of a football player. So Cameron, are you in the camp that it's definitely Shea Patterson? Shane, what about you? Are you in the camp that it's definitely Shea Patterson? I know a lot of people feel really strongly that it is going to be Shea. Shane, you're talking about Cleek. He said he might be the best blitzer I've ever seen. Yeah, I think you could probably ask a lot of quarterbacks and running backs that and offensive linemen that question, and they might agree with you on that. He is an animal, an animal. We're going on the 20-minute mark, guys. Shane says 100% it's Patterson. Cameron Clark says it's got to be Shea. He wouldn't transfer if he wasn't going to start. I understand that, guys. I do understand that. But to just completely discount Brandon Peters and not even give the guy a sliver of a chance. I'm not saying that Shea Patterson won't be the starting quarterback at Michigan, but I am saying that it's not 100% guaranteed lock, and I am saying that there will be competition. I'm very confident in that. Now, when the season starts, if you guys want to say, well, Adam, hey, you thought that Brandon would be, even if it is Shea, I'm telling you that Brandon Peters is not going to just fade away. Shane says the only reason is because they will tailor the offense to Patterson instead of making him be strictly a drop back quarterback. And that goes back. I think I asked Harbaugh this question. It was either in 15 or 16 about tailoring an offense. How much do you change the offense for the quarterback? How much do you go away from what you already know and kind of what your standards are, your basis, and how much do you change that for the quarterback? And it's a delicate balance doing that. Nick, I don't know. I'm gonna butcher more last names. Nick, Ty. I'm just gonna call you Nick T. I'm sorry, Nick. If you want to spell it out phonetically for me, I'll give it a shot. He's got a Michigan State question. How can LJ Scott call Michigan little sister when he hasn't rushed for more than 2 yards per carry average against Michigan? Nick, I wasn't there for that comment that LJ Scott made, but I know that Andrew Valancourt of the Wolverine tweeted it. I know Andrew. Ryan showed me the tweet. I know Andrew. He does good work. He works hard. So if he tweeted it, I didn't hear that myself. I was not there personally. I did talk to LJ Scott a little bit. There's video on my YouTube channel, but I didn't hear LJ say that. But again, Andrew of the Wolverine, Andrew Valancourt, he tweeted that. If he tweeted that, then LJ said that. It's, I don't have Terriall. Nick Terriall. All right, that I got it on the first try even. I think Shane. I'm still butchering your last name. Is it Majewski? Is the J? Is it a hard J sound? I don't know. You gotta tell me. Shane says otherwise. I'd give the edge to Peters. Honestly, he knows the offense better as is. Hey guys, I pointed this out. Brandon Peters had what, 2 interceptions last year. Everybody wants to talk about Shea Patterson's touchdown numbers, 17 touchdowns, and what, he played 7 games. Those are great numbers. But he also threw 9 interceptions. He had 2 games of, well, 3 or more interceptions. The play that he got injured on, and I'm not, this is more coincidental than anything. The play he got injured on ended up being an interception too. So that's kind of my thing. I mean, Brandon may not have the flash and the sizzle that Shea Patterson has, and of course with Shea being new to the fold, everybody. I mean, look, people were really high on John O'Corn. John O'Corn came in with phenomenal stats from Houston. I mean, people were like, "Wow, where this guy's just going to tear it up at Michigan." Unfortunately for John, things didn't go as planned. Mayeski is actual Shane. Okay, my fault. I have a buddy whose last name is Marleski. It's similar to that. I was saying Majewski. I'm sorry. That's a total like layman's pronunciation. Layman layman's pronunciation. Shane Mayeski. My bad, Shane. Steve Florian. Michigan's biggest concern going into the year. The O line. I would say so, Steve. Yes. Shane says he doesn't expect to get it right. Shane Mayeski. I will never get it wrong, Shane. We've got it. If I butcher your last name, feel free to tell me. And again, those phonetic pronunciations or spelling it out really help for me. Nick Terriall. Shane Mayeski. Nick, hopefully you join us this season for the live stream. Shane's a vet. Shane's been watching for a couple years now. He's been reading. Like I said, I'll have a column. This has to be the year. Michigan's offensive side, coaching wise, this has to be the year that the puzzle comes together. Asked Jim Harbaugh the question during his main podium. How they had it set up was in the main room, podium coaches would come up and speak for 15 minutes, and then there's separate breakaway sessions, and those were. A lot of coaches stayed for an hour. Jim Harbaugh stayed for an hour. I did not expect him to stay for the full hour. Chase Winovich talked to the media for a long time. Tyree Kinnell talked to the media for a long time. Karan Higdon. But I was really surprised that Harbaugh stayed for the full hour. I did not anticipate that, and we have the full audio that'll be posted later today. Cameron Clark says Shane was the MVP of the Elite 11 and of the Army All-American game. Sure has a lot of hype. Yeah, and of course, I mean, Michigan recruits guys with a lot of hype, right? I mean, for the most part, I mean, Michigan's going after big guys. I am not knocking Shea Patterson in any shape or form, and I know that a lot of people in their mind have already handed over the job to Shea. And I'm not saying that Shea won't be the starter, but what I am saying is err on the side of caution. I don't believe it's a slam dunk. I really don't. Likely, I'll go likely. Slam dunk, automatic lock. I can't go that far because I do believe that Brandon Peters is going to compete in camp. I honestly do. Any other questions, guys? Going back to Steve, yeah, Michigan's biggest concern going into the year, offensive line, and Steve, honestly, that's been offensively, that's been their biggest concern for the past 3 years, 4 years. I mean, we can go back to when Devin Gardner was quarterback. That offensive line struggled. Offensive line struggled a little bit at 2015, but that we saw it turn the corner. Jake Rudock had a wonderful season. Cameron Clark says people are just throwing McCaffrey aside too for Milton, but I honestly think Dylan has the brightest future at quarterback, not only in Michigan but in the NFL. Dylan throws a great ball. Dylan throws a great ball. And guys, last year at one point during camp, Dylan was ahead of Brandon Peters. I can confirm that 1,000,000%. At one point during camp last year, Dylan was ahead. At one point, Alex Malzone was ahead of Brandon Peters. This was 2 years ago. Cameron says he's a big McCaffrey fan. Yeah, I like Dylan. I do. Shane Majewski says he's got to run. Great to have you back, Adam. Yeah, it's a little short lunch break, guys. I'm gonna get going too. It's almost 30 minutes. Any other questions? Spread the word. You guys, the regulars, you guys know. But if you're in any Michigan fan groups on Facebook or you're on Twitter and talking to other Michigan fans and anybody else that you may have known that read my previous stuff at Bleacher Report or FanRag, I'm back. Let them know. They're welcome. Kyle Prange. Is it Prange, Prang? Tell me how to pronounce this, Kyle. He says, we all know it's a brutal schedule, but if Michigan goes 9-3 or 8-4, is Harbaugh on the hot seat for next year? I don't. The coaching hot seat, I don't know. 9-3 or 8-4, I can't. I don't believe. I think fans would be disappointed, but as far as coaching hot seat, I don't think so. Cameron Clark says reminds me of Brady, and he's talking about Dylan McCaffrey. Plus, his family is just crazy athletic. Yeah, I mean that McCaffrey. Yeah, Ed McCaffrey comes to mind. Christian McCaffrey. I mean, so if you're McCaffrey, you're probably pretty good at football. I think that's a safe bet. Any other questions, guys? Just wanted to hop back on, and I apologize there were so many people on Wi-Fi, and no matter how strong of a connection we had, the live stream quality from Chicago, especially the second day, was not 1080. It wasn't really clear like it is when I do it at home, so I apologize for that. But we wanted to do it on the spot for a couple reasons. Plus, because you guys know that it's going on, you're following on Twitter and you're reading stuff, and you're online, searching for videos and podcasts, and so we wanted to make sure we at least got it out there as soon as possible. So I do apologize. The video quality was a little bit choppy, but hopefully that's not an issue in the future. Cameron Clark says, I say we're 10-2, lost to Penn State in Ohio, win a New Year's Six bowl, and I'll be happy. That's realistic. 10 wins with the bowl game, yeah, including bowl season. Ryan Schuling actually asked me this question last night. What are my and with this, I mean the schedule, guys, and we're gonna break down the schedule later this week. Go game by game by game. It'll be fun. Cameron Clark says we'll beat MSU and Notre Dame. I firmly believe that Wisconsin could be a toss-up. Yeah, I think Wisconsin will be a toss-up as well. Notre Dame on the road, that's pretty tough to open in the season. Kyle says, do you think they're going to change the offense to a more modern, up-tempo offense or keep running one from the 1950s? But with all these, and Jim Harbaugh, I'll go back at an ADHD moment, kind of skipped over what I was saying. Jim, going back to the coaching continuity question that I asked Jim Harbaugh, he said it's a great collaboration. So, I mean, if you have that many people contributing to the offensive game plan, hopefully it's not an antiquated style. I mean, modern it up. I mean, I thought with Jed there, I really liked Jed Fish as the passing game coordinator. I thought that was going to be aerial attacks, spread the field. Right now, I'm kind of like I'm in the middle. I don't. Where is Michigan's offense going to? What type? What are we going to see? That's kind of my main question. What are we going to see? We know there's talented pieces there. We know who the two guys who are going to compete for a starting quarterback. I mean, we're looking at Tariq Black coming back. Tariq's going to. I believe that Tariq's going to elevate himself. Tariq's got he and DPJ Donovan Peoples Jones. And a lot of people are knocking Donovan last year for some little mistakes. He was a true freshman. I mean, I nearly lost my mind, and I gotta temper myself with some of these Twitter trolls a little bit. Got to just kind of even out. But I nearly lost my mind reading some of the comments people were making about DPJ last year. I mean, it's like unrealistic expectations and just I would like to see some of these people go out and try this. That's basically how I feel. Cameron Clark says very excited to see Oliver Martin as well. Yes, Oliver will be in there. Cameron also adds, I just think Notre Dame is overrated like they are every year, but I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. I mean going to South Bend to open the season, that's a challenge. That's a challenge, I think. Regardless of talent level, opening your season. I know it's traditional. Michigan closes the season, but imagine opening the season against Ohio State. Imagine opening the season against Michigan State. Maybe it's not quite at that level, but I mean, Michigan Notre Dame is, pretty special. It's definitely a heated rivalry. I'm glad to see that it's back on track. Going to Notre Dame, that's season opener, but at the same time, it's like these guys have to be at least in midseason form, if not home stretch form, honing in on a conference championship type of mindset. This is a very important game for the Wolverines. So back to your question, Kyle. Do you think they're going to change the offense to a more modern, up-tempo offense, or keep running one from 1950s? I mean, I don't think it's fair to call it 1950s offense, but I see what you're saying. Do I think they're going to up-tempo it a little bit? Yeah, I do. And we were talking about that last year with Pep Hamilton. Is it going to be more of a spread element? And that term spread, not necessarily applicable, but they're going to toss it around a little bit. I think the meat and potatoes of Michigan's offense will still be power. It's got to be running. It's got to be running heavy tight end use. We might see some three tight end sets. We did last year. I mean, maybe 4 tight end set. Pull that out every now and then. But I mean, when you have receivers like DPJ and Tariq Black, and you have a quarterback like Shea Patterson who can extend some plays. Brandon Peters has a big arm. I can't help but think that those two are going to be the main weapons. I would like to see Michigan. They have to establish a run game. The run game has improved every year since Harbaugh's been in Ann Arbor. The passing game, though, I thought, and like I said, going back to Jed Fish, I thought, okay, that was the year, 2016. I thought, okay, we are really going to see Michigan's offense click up to the next level. So, Kyle asks, is there any possibility of them rotating safety groups like Metellus and Kinno were great against the run, but the pass defense coverage was rough? Yeah, I think we will see that, Kyle. Yes. And Josh Metellus is another guy. I really like Josh. I think he's a great player. Josh had some coverage issues last year. Pass coverage. Tyree did as well. Any other questions, guys? We're going 35 minutes. Cameron Clark, this will be the last one. Biggest impact freshman, Miles Sims or Muhammad? I'm going to reserve. Let's reserve that. Let's get into camp a little bit, Cameron. Because there's so many there's so many guys who redshirted last year. There's so many guys who are going to be true sophomores. I mean, Miles Sims obviously comes to mind, at least for me, as a guy who's going to be pretty good. But again, there are guys ahead of him. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. Like I said, we're on 36 minutes, and I feel like it was a good chat. Again, follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. Cameron's final comment will end it. He says, "This is our year. No more excuses for Harbaugh." Well, Cameron, I know that you think like a lot of Michigan fans. I think this has to be the year. The defense isn't even a concern whatsoever. If the offense, like I said, and I'll have a column up either later today or early tomorrow. Check that out at greatlakesdivide.squarespace.com. Where, like I mentioned earlier, we're working to get that URL shortened to just greatlakesdivide.com. Follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. Follow at GL Divide, and that's Twitter and Facebook. And follow my partner Ryan Schuling at Ryan Schuling, and that's SCHUILING. Just one L in Schuling. Darkman1212 says, "What's going on, Adam?" Darkman, you joined just at the end. If you have a question, I gotta get going because we're going on 37 minutes. If you have a question, I'll answer it right now for you, and we'll end with you. Darkman, he says, "Missed your videos." Yeah, and I'll get on a regular schedule, guys. I'll try to let you know well in advance. I was just excited to get back. Again, I arrived home late last night from Chicago, and I wanted to talk football. And I figured this was probably the best way to do it and see who I can catch during the day. But let me know what works best. I know the regular viewers. I want to know what works best for you guys. Is it early in the day? Is it midday? Is it late? I want to try to reach as many people as possible live. Of course, come back and watch the replays. But I think why most of you guys watch this is because you want to ask questions. So Cameron Clark, he's coming in with another question. He says, "Will Harbaugh interview be up?" My last question. Yes, it will. As soon as I'm done here, I'm gonna get that Harbaugh interview up. It's a full hour, guys. So sit back, relax, grab something to eat, kick your feet up on the couch, turn off your phones, and just sit there. 55 minutes of Jim Harbaugh, and he was pretty lively. And you know what? I missed it. Ryan was telling me about it. I guess Angelique and Jim had a pretty funny exchange about Angelique mentioned something about to Jim that he rolled his eyes at her, and he said, "I didn't roll my eyes. I looked up." That's what Ryan said. I wasn't there for that, but that'll be included in there. Darkman1212, do you have a question? We'll get yours. I don't want to leave you out in the cold, but you did. You joined right as I was closing, man. Sorry. Nice avatar, by the way. The shot clock's ticking, Darkman. And again, if you guys have questions at any time, at AdamBiggers81 on Twitter. Cameron Clark says 8 o'clock works best for me. I'm out of work by 7. Darkman says, "Who do you think will replace Mike McCray?" All right, that's a good question. There are a few options. And I don't want to take the cheap way out, but I want to wait until camp a little bit. But, I mean, who did we see play behind Mike last year? Devin Gill. I mean, Devin Gill would be a logical pick, but there's other guys that are going to be in there. I want to see Jordan Anthony. I think Michigan's got some pretty good depth at linebacker. Jordan Anthony's pretty athletic. But if I just had to pick one guy right now who's going to replace Mike McCray, well, Devin Gill played behind Mike McCray last year. So just by, logic, I tend to think that way. And things change. Just because the guy was in the 2 spot last year doesn't mean that he's going to be this year. But Darkman says both are solid replacements. Yeah, I would say Devin Gill comes to mind for me. And like I said, I want to see Jordan Anthony get on the field. All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for following. It's 40 minutes now, so we're gonna get out of here. I'll have another live stream probably later this week. I'll keep you guys informed when the camp dates are, when availability. I'll have live stream interviews. Just like if you're new, I feel like I don't want to over explain to the people who've been following me for a while, but if you're new, do the live streams like this from my home office, little room, whatever you want to call it, memorabilia room. And then we'll have video from the post practice availabilities, have video from all the press conferences. So tons and tons of stuff, content wise, on the YouTube channel. And again, final plug for Great Lakes Divide at GL Divide. That's on Twitter and Facebook. And we've got an Instagram too. We'll be getting that going. Cameron Clark says I'd say Josh Ross. Josh Ross is another guy. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Steve Florian says, excuse me, did you see the Whitlock and Coward exchange? Check your Twitter if not. No, I have not, Steve. Will you send that to me? I'm sure that was pretty good. I'm going to get going, guys. Ryan Schuling sent me the Harbaugh audio that he recorded, so I want to get that up for you guys again. That's going to be an hour of Jim Harbaugh. I'm going to borrow from Jim with this one and say, no, you're chomping at the bit for that. I guarantee it. Steve says he's sending it. All right, I appreciate it, Steve. Darkman1212 says, thanks for answering my question. Looking forward to watching your videos all season long. Thanks a lot for joining, Darkman. I appreciate it. Steve, thank you. Shane Mayeski, I think he had to get back to, I think he was at work. Thanks for tuning in, Shane. Cam, of course. I look forward to another season. It's going to be fun, guys. I'm excited to be back. So thanks for watching. Again, at Adam Biggers 81, Great Lakes Divide. I'll talk to you guys next time. Have a great day.